Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I hope everyone is doing all right today. I'm going to need your help to stay awake. I am switching back over to days, and I have my coffee and a lot of motivation. I have been terrible in my hours for a while. I've got to stay awake until tonight at my normal bedtime, about 11:30. So I've already worked through tonight because of obligations here at work. So I'm none too happy about the whole business. I'm frazzled. I'm just a mess. So I'm doing the honorable thing by feeding myself a bunch of caffeine and nothing else and water until the appropriate time. So that is my, yeah, I will have been awake. This will be at 2 p.m. It will be 24 hours. So well, by the time I get to bed, it'll be more than that. But I have to do that because I've let my sleep schedule get off because of obligations here at the property. And I've actually stayed on property for quite a while. And believe you me, I want to get back to my bed. I want to get back to, my kitchen. I want to get back to the stuff in my neck of the woods 22 minutes from here. But I've been stuck at work because of obligations. And I've had a guy who stayed late into the nights who's out on parental leave. He's getting back tonight. So as a result, I've had to stay here to manage the property in the late night hours. Yeah, thanks, Tracy. Yeah, definitely. I'm definitely going to make sure I'm ready before I get behind the wheel. I feel okay. I feel good right now because I'm amped up. I've been listening to music and jogging in place and doing a few things like that. And the sun's coming up. That's helping a little. And then I cleaned out some suitcases and a few things I had. I've got a few things to do before I leave, and then I will leave and I'll be ready. So that's pretty much it for today. And this is a time for you guys to get any sort of questions out that you have, or if you need any motivation or anything like that. I'm happy to help in return. Where are you guys coming from? I see, where are you from, Tracy? Satish, is that it? Am I pronouncing that right? James, Foodie Fatty Keto, and it looks like Ashish. I don't know if you guys are still around. If you are, thanks for joining us here. We're going to do, with the quarter bit of coffee, we're going to do Toledo, Ohio. I do remember that, Tracy. We're going to start with the things that I normally get later in the day, usually at the meal. I'm going to do the tonic of the emperor. This is the special one, reishi, shiitake, cordyceps, and maitake. This is the magic one. This is the one I recommend. You can get it in the USA from Hawaii because they make them there. If you can't get them, I would recommend searching. I think you should be able to have them imported, but I'm gonna just do like so. And I usually do two. I'm gonna do one because I've had some and I haven't slept. Number 2, goji. Goji, the same brand. They're all the same brand. Red Chinese ginseng. This is the most powerful ginseng. If you read on the ginseng, there's a lot to know. You can mix it with anything. It doesn't really have but a bitter taste. Gotu Kola. And then Hishu Wu. I'm going to do the same. We're just going to jam in one since I don't want to overdo it today. And that is about it right now. I'm not going to do anything else. I'm going to stir this. And with the coffee I have in there, it should dilute it enough to not taste the bitterness. If you use too little of another drink, you'll kind of taste it. But with the Hi Mama Z, with the way it is, it's a bittersweet. You can't really taste it with most any beverage, especially a sweet beverage or an artificially sweetened beverage. You can't taste it. I do taste it a little, but none to speak of. Hello, foodie. Welcome back. I noticed you were here. You were one of the first. So for those of you who might not have heard, hey, C-Dub, how you doing? Hey, email me, C-Dub, email me after we're done here at joe@joeholmanonline.com. I want to have you on my podcast if you'd be interested. I've seen your channel. I took a look at it last night, in fact, and I think you have some good content, really good content. I'm looking to better unite the O-Matters than I've done perhaps in the past. I probably haven't really done more of a, oh, for sure, man. I'm happy to get going with you. But I want to do better on that front. So Mama Z, Foodie, well, let me go back and see. Okay, Daniel from Indianapolis. Daniel, hello again, Daniel. I recognize you from past chats. George says, OMAD makes me feel sluggish sometimes. Is that normal? Well, George, first of all, how long have you been intermittent fasting? Are you used to little meals? Were you very adjusted to little meals? Was it something that you did naturally and then it was a big switch to come over to fasting? Sometimes that's the effect. Debbie Omad, whose daughter had some struggles with that, she had to take several attempts at it. And she would have low blood sugar symptoms. Sluggishness, though, usually comes from your pancreas working really well, but it's overproducing. So it's making you feel tired because of the high blood sugar going up and then quickly going back down. And the result is a tired feeling. It is, unless you're adjusting, it shouldn't stay that way. You should adjust. The question is, how big are your meals? That's another question. How big are your meals? And what do they consist of? Do you have any known food sensitivities? This is one of those questions where you have to kind of ask, the questions about yourself. But generally, you should adjust. But again, a lot of people that are used to 5 meals, I've had women, especially women who were used to little meals, had a lot of trouble adjusting because they weren't diabetic. They were had normal metabolisms, or fairly normal, just a little bit slower than normal, and they ended up feeling tired after the meal. That is common to break in, but you should adjust on that. Satish says, I do stay awake occasionally, but you don't notice it if you are involved at work continuously. That's correct. But I've been so busy lately. I visit the beach and I'm awake till sunrise and think of lunch to get me going. I do that, but right now, because of the lull in activity, I've decided to do other things, and then this live stream is part of that. So, Satish says, do you watch videos of Sadhguru? Yes. On why we should be awake. Oh no, I've not seen anything on his. I do follow him. I do subscribe to Sadhguru. He's very, very sharp, very wise. He's very woke to the world. He's one of my favorites, in fact. But I haven't seen anything on sleeping on him. Chris says, get in bed. Hello, Chris. Get in bed at sunset, wake up at 1 or 2 in the morning. This is the quickest way to adjust to a day schedule. Yes, I've done it before. I would wait until, yeah, usually 8 or 9, just at sunset in the summer. And then I was right back. I did, the last time I did it was when I had my foot rebuilt in 2010. I went back to working days. I used to have to flip-flop between days and nights, and it was so cruel and so brutal. Hi, Lizzie. How are you doing? So for those of you joining us, we've already done our special kind of magic mushrooms. They're really good. People notice energy at first when they take them, and then after a while you build up a tolerance. I always feel a little bit of undercurrent of energy, which is going to help me today. And then after that, just water for the rest of the day. Yeah, George, people adjust differently. The main thing, if you're getting sluggish after the meal though, I would recommend a therapeutic walk. Get out there for 15 minutes and make yourself walk. That's also true for people who they instinctively start sleeping throughout the day when they start doing OMAD because their brain is trying to conserve glucose. And there's a lot of stuff written on this. Your body's trying to put you, when you fast, into rationing mode. And what you want to show it is that you're going to maintain a certain level of activity. So stay busy walking. Get your podcasts, your audiobooks, put it on your phone, pop in the headphones and go for a walk. And pretty soon, guess what? It's going to become so dang addictive that you'll say, why didn't I do this years ago? And we've had phones that can, and iPods and iPads now for a while. There's no reason not to do it. You can absolutely do it, and you won't have that problem, or at least you won't notice it while you're adjusting. Lizzie says, I just recently started eating once every 48 for about 1 week now because I have about 35 kilos to lose. So you think that'll be faster for you? Once every 48? Here, let me see, 2 pounds. You see, we in the US just use it, so that's 77 pounds you have to lose. Okay. No, that's whatever. If you can keep doing 48, I would think that's okay. I would make sure you can keep doing it. You're putting, you can definitely do it, and I've done it for weeks on end at eating once every 2 days, and you'll have great blood sugar from it. Like you really will. And then when you go, your body is basically developing strength to control your blood sugar. I've done once every 3 days before too. That's another way. And in Elijah Muhammad in How to Eat to Live recommends that. I don't because it's not practical, but if you can make it work, that's good. Hi, good morning, AK. How are you? Walk is so big for me, C-Dub says. Yes, it is super important. And I actually saw, C-Dub, one of your, I think you did a video focused on that. Hey Deb, did you get my my email? Is the video good to go? And let me know. I emailed you yesterday. The podcast on our current events thing is ready to go. I just want to make sure you're good with it. Debbie Omad is here. I've already got the mushrooms, Debbie. Where am I? Here we go. I have all the mushrooms I just went through. I'm doing this because I'm adjusting back to days, and I've just gotten so rotten with my hours for the last month or two that I needed to start over because I kept working later and later, and pretty soon my hours got all out of whack. So I'm going to need you guys' help, and I thank everybody so far who's here. I know the day's getting started for most of you, and now it is for me too. But if you do have to run, I understand. Anybody who needs to go, I totally understand. I'm just glad you're here. Ray says, hey Joe, does CBD oil taken under the tongue sublingually break the fast? You know, I don't know. I think it does because all oils, they do break a fast. I would say that's true with CBD oils. I don't know much about that subject. I know that some people take them under the tongue because they think it helps. I've never experimented with CBD. I've done the regular different oils, and I'm not a fan of them. I don't believe they're really good or helpful. And I do understand from some of the videos I've seen from a lot of the bigger YouTubers that they do break a fast. And so I would not say, and I'm not one of these people who believe that oil is insulin neutral either. it doesn't provoke an insulin response. It's largely insulin neutral, but you can break a fast from it. Um, at least if only slightly. I don't think a little bit of it will destroy a fast, but because there's always some natural level of oils in coffee, and that's not going to hurt you at all. But if you're adding anything to it, yeah, I wouldn't. Let me research. I'm going to do some more research on the CBD thing because I know it's become very popular. Foodie Fatty Keto asks, Joe, do you use any fasting apps? No, I don't. I don't. I've thought about making an OMAD Revolution app, but I don't know what I would really do. Um, I would have to get with somebody who knew how to do it, first of all. But a lot of people use the apps. The only thing I have done is you can look up an app called Repeat Timer Pro. And when I was a big guy, I made myself, I was really having, fluid was getting in my ankles. And when I just started, before I started fasting, right when I started fasting, I made it to where I set the timer to where every 5 minutes when I was awake, I had to get up. So it would start beeping again, beep, 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 just the normal food kitchen alarm type. And I had to do this. I had to stand up and sit back down. And I did that every 5 minutes throughout the day, in addition to about a week later, I started walking. But that's called Repeat Timer Pro. It's the only app I've ever used that I can credit next to the MyFitnessPal app, which I didn't use until after I had already lost weight. So I would do just like I did there. I would just stand right up and then sit back down for like 5 seconds and then sit back down to keep my blood moving as a big guy. And that took care of the problem. So AKS, how are the results for OMAD carnivore versus OMAD carbs with protein versus OMAD plant-based? That's such a good question. I'm going to answer that right when I get back. So my best results have come from OMAD with normal eating. Mostly, and I did a video on a carb dominant versus protein dominant. If you do 70-30 carb to protein, you have your best results, in my opinion. I believe I can stand behind that. And I'm ready for someone to take me to task on it. You know, I'm not a carnivore type. You can do plant-based and have about as good results. I tend to get bloated if I do too many legumes, and I start not digesting well. And I am done with trying pure plant-based. I am instead plant-heavy. So about 70% and the rest is animal protein. I have moved away from more plant-based eating recently. That's kind of an FYI for me, for to you guys about me. I am a lot more of a normal eater, so I will eat with 45 to maybe 60% plant-based to sometimes more than that, sometimes 50-50. But to answer your question, normal meal distribution with a slight benefit of carbs is the best ratio. Take me to task on that. If you don't agree, if your experience has been different, then chronicle that in a video you make and explain maybe over a 6-week period why you disagree with that. Me, that's been the best and most consistent. George Nelson says 48 hours is better for autophagy. That's correct, because after that, after you get to day 4, you're starting to see diminishing returns. You're starting to see a decline in the you're gonna get to a point where it's gonna be more catabolic. It's gonna, after that 48 hours is peak, because you get growth hormone that spikes, which is what preserves your muscle. That's why you do lose muscle with some muscle with prolonged fasting, but your body will preserve it with growth hormone, so that for a while you're going to bounce back. You're going to be in the normal range, and fat loss is minimized. If it weren't for that, you'd have a lot of trouble. Lizzie says, thanks, Joe. Right back at you. Debbie says, this is what I'm doing this week, every other day, um, just to take off the extra pounds from this shutdown. You're doing a 48, or you're doing a mix of carbs or protein, or what are you, what are you, what are you? Okay, go ahead and post it. Okay. No, Debbie, I was only, yeah, and I was only working nights because everybody, well, we've furloughed everybody, and we don't have any we don't have anybody to work, so I'm actually doing hourly employee work. I thought I was done with that, but I'm doing everything here, a lot of things anyway. Uh, you like the facial hair, Napa? I don't know, it's itching. I may get tired of it and cut it off, but thank you for that. I appreciate you. I'm actually, my eyes are red. I'm ready. My body doesn't like what I'm doing, but I appreciate that. I appreciate it a whole lot. Thanks for the reply. Ray says it's CBD with MCT. Oh yes, MCT or coconut oil. I do recall buying that about 3 years ago. A big jar of it. The stuff was nasty. Even the plastic couldn't contain it. It was like seeping through the plastic jar. I never. My body didn't tolerate it. I got the runs. I remember. I didn't feel any better. I didn't feel any energy. Uh, but if you find that that's not the case, then more power to you. I know that a lot of people have higher fat diets and do great, but it's just, it all depends on you. Debbie says, I'm doing 36 to 48 doing low carb. Okay, so you're back to, I do remember that from your video. You mentioned going back to a lower carb approach. You need to drop 6 pounds. Oh, you'll knock that right off. You'll knock that 6 pounds right off. Tracy says, I want to switch my meal time or my eating time. I was eating at 8 p.m., want to switch to 7 p.m. after I complete my 14-day on Friday. Is this okay? Hey, it's absolutely your game. What you can do, I remember switching when I switched from midday to or when I switched from midday to evenings, and then I switched to mornings. I actually had a meal of Italian food, and then 12 hours later or 8 hours later, I ate a big breakfast and that was my next meal. So just start right in. And even if you end up effectively having 2 meals that day, don't worry about it, because you're going to go right back onto the the uh, the normal game. You're going to go right back onto sustaining yourself. So with a normal 1 meal. For those of you who are doing the 48 who was doing 48-hour, try next, if you decide, you can try a day of grazing. Some people do this. They do a day with like an 8-hour or 12-hour eating window, and then go every 3 days, which is one way to do it. But again, once you get to 48 hours or more, to me, that's less practical. It's easier to do once. I have been doing now, I've been massing up, so I have obviously been eating more, but I'm now going back to a more humble 2,400 calories, 2,800 calories a day, 1 meal at between 2 and 5 p.m. to 7 p.m., somewhere around there. But I'm probably going to move it back to 11 to 2. So since I'm now going to be on days, so. But let's see. But 48 hours. One time I did water only 48 hours, ate a small meal, kept going. I have been awake. I woke up yesterday very late at about 3:19 p.m. Central Time. So once I hit 3:19 today, it's 8:50 a.m. Central Time right now, I will have been awake 24 hours. So by the time I get to bed, I will have done, I don't know, 20 or 34 hours or something like that. So I'm not really worried. I've done it before. John Boston, welcome. Yeah, Debbie, I'm not gonna have fun today. I mean, I am, because I'm gonna make myself. I'm gonna go out there and walk. The sun's out now. It's been raining all night. We had some leaks here at the hotel. Um, I've already made arrangements to take care of that, but now it's dried up and the sun is out. We only have a 20% chance. So John Boston asks, when you first started doing OMAD, did you do meals of minus 1,000 calories at the time? Thank you. Yes, I did. I was doing 700 calories when I started, which is a little bit on the low side, significantly on the low side. And about a month later, I started upping them to 11 to 1,200 to 1,400. My best losses were at 14 to 1,600. So after I got going. George says, not to get too personal, but has OMAD helped reducing loose skin over time? Yeah, it's gotten a little bit better. I do have some composition around my waistline that is a little bit loose. Um, I'm not defensive about it, or yeah, I don't think it's too personal. It's nothing really, you know, it just, it's not tight. And when I start really getting into a loss cycle and I drop about 10 pounds or 15 pounds, I notice the skin is really, loose. But again, I'm not 20, so it's not like I'm really worried about it. Hello, Adrian. How are you doing? Bucharest. Hello, Rob. So that 70% carb to protein ratio, is that what you'd recommend for a sprint athlete too on OMAD then, who requires the extra glycogen? Yes, because you can't, and this is what I find so problematic with Atkins, keto approaches and all of this that are too strict. You can't shuttle in the glycogen to your muscles if you don't have complex carbs. I can't. I know that I would cramp up so bad that there would be no shaking a stick at it. So my love will not be with any of those. I would recommend that, and I would recommend you get lots of sometimes straight sugar. Let me tell you this. I can do this right now. I could, if I wanted to make a meal right now, I could go and get like candy, straight candy, and then have something like a burger for protein. And guess what? I would have I would digest it fairly quickly, and I would be good for a long run because that sugar is very dense, and your body has to filter it out and then store it in your liver, which is where, if you're a sprinting athlete, you do well to follow that rule, I think. Experiment and let me know what you think there, because me, I don't, I will never get away from complex carbs in my diet. I mean, starches and whatnot. I'll never get away from that. Your body processes them differently. So if I do have a meal that is carb dominant, now I don't want to ignore the protein either, because your muscles over time will suffer. So I'm not one of these people who believe you should get rid of animal protein. I'm not. I've tried and it hasn't worked out well. So if you combine that ratio, 70 to 90% carb to protein, make sure your calorie count is high enough so that you can survive and you can do what you need to do. Then let me do this. Let me line this up so that I'm better prepared. I'm better. There we go. That is definitely what I would try. Napa says, or John says, do go out and walk, helps with cravings. You bet it does. Here's what else. And one of my first videos on this channel was doing short sprints when you're really hungry. If you feel like you're going to cave, if you're healthy enough, put some shoes on as if you're going to run a long time and just run up the street as fast as you safely can. And that will put you instantly into a sugar burning, because you'll be having to call upon the glycogen in your body, and the result will be you will feel much better, and your mind will of course be off food. I fell off the OMAD wagon, Napa says, for 6 days after adhering for a month. Any words of encouragement for getting back on track would be appreciated. I'm too scared to weigh myself. For 6 days? Oh man, you'll knock that right. Why did you do it? Just what's the reason? What was the reason for it? How did you justify it when you were contemplating it in your mind? What led to that decision? I'm curious to know. Did you? And then when you were off it, well, instead of splurging one day and jumping back on, why did you reason it away? Why didn't you say, okay, well, I splurged, good or bad or ugly, I'm back on it? What made you go 6 days? If you want to answer that. Debbie says, generally speaking, I think men handle carbs better than women, at least from what I have seen thus far in my group. Carbs stall women faster for the most part. Debbie, I don't know if that's true or not. I'll take your word for it because you have better credibility in that department than I do. But I find that I guess that could be true. Well, I know it's true to some degree, but I have found that if they are consistent, if anybody is consistent with a carb dominant, that they tend to lose faster after an initial reaction of gaining. So yeah, you're going to store some carbs, but women do store a higher percentage of body fat naturally in water, so that you may have some truth to that. And as you know, you've had good luck with, you've managed your weight so well since the near 80 pounds that you've dropped. You're qualified to talk on that. I have had women tell me that over and over. I do think there's an advantage for men on that, a slight advantage. Generally, women will lose slower than men in general, regardless of what they're eating. So it's a slight advantage, but that men have, but it's an advantage still. So I think that could be true. Does a few drops sugar-free squash mixed with a liter of water cause an insulin reaction and break the fast? Find it hard to just drink water all day. The sugar-free squash makes it easier. What is squash? You don't mean like garden squash from the garden, do you? I don't. I know that sounds like a UK reference. I know, or maybe it's something here. Non-alcoholic concentrated syrup used in beverage making? Is that it? Is that what I'm... Is that it? I don't know. I wouldn't imagine people would be talking about like a... We don't have that in the U.S. I'm not familiar with that. I don't... anything that is above 15 calories is the rule. 15 to 20 calories does get an insulin reaction. Okay, squash is like a fruit. Okay, so yeah, I would not do, if you mean a few drops, I would stay away from that, because even anything stronger with more sugar than a V8 juice, like a small can of V8, will get an insulin reaction. So if you have anything more than a communion serving of juice, you will get an insulin reaction. So as soon as you go, if you're a church person, you drink the little juice in the cup, you will, anything more than that with sugar, you would get a reaction. Is it less than that for you? Then maybe you wouldn't. But again, 15 calories, I have noticed, is the rule. And if I get 20 calories from like a small Ocean Spray juice bottle, I'll notice it will, I'll feel an insulin reaction. Ever so slightly. Can you talk a little more about eating every other day? It's something I want to start, but I want to thank you for your knowledge. You've helped so many people. God bless. What is it? What's the appeal for that? Is it that you feel that it's more taxing on the body? That you feel that it's going to get results faster? And if that's the case, then you have to ask yourself, is that sustainable for you? Is it something that you can continually do? If so, then Godspeed, go right ahead. So according to this, hold hold on, let me read you the quote. And the reason is, not that I put any stock in the book, but it, I mean, it is a good book. Uh, I'm trying to find. So according to, let me find the quote. If you eat every 2 days, you will live 100 years, according to the noble. So that's like the ultimate thing. 3 days is 72 hours is the ultimate thing, according to Elijah Muhammad. Now, again, I'm not going to back what the guy says. He happened to be right. And when I was already fasting, I heard about him, I think 7 months into my fasting journey. I looked into people who did very long fasting, and they, the only, again, according to, if your body can handle it and you have stable blood sugars, which is, it's more harsh on that because I mean, it's better for that in the long term, but it is, if you can sustain that, then your body will make use of it. If you have a solid immune system, you're good to go. Um, but that's what I can tell you about 48-hour fasting. How long have I done it? The longest I went was about 3 weeks, 3.5 weeks doing 48-hour fasts. And then I moved to 3 days for the next 2 weeks. So over a month, I was doing every other day eating. And it finally dawned on me that I lost the energy to keep doing that, to keep, like I felt great, but I didn't do really anything else because it was when I would go meet with a business meeting with my colleagues, it was too hard to sustain because rather than eating at lunch or eating, it became too, I was thinking, okay, I'm just going to be drinking water the whole time. And then the next day, I'm still not eating. And then the next day, then I had to plan that around activities. If I'm going to take Kayla to Six Flags, how am I going to do that? And then, go and then my meal time is in the middle of 3 days when I haven't eaten. Well, eventually I need to eat. So it became less practical for me. So that's pretty much the only concern, but that's my experience with it. You will lose weight and you will feel good. I can tell you that much. That's what I can tell you. There are people that do it. I have one guy who's a painter. He did once every 3 days. Uh, and at first, he had a hard time adjusting. But after he got the hang of it, he did it I don't know what he's doing today, but he did it really well. Adrian asks a question about sleep. What are you trying to do, man? Are you trying to mess with me? Okay, here's what I have learned. I'm not one of these people that has trouble sleeping, so I may be a little bit biased. Um, but I mean, a little bit not as credible here. But I can tell you this. If you set a rhythm, and this is why I posted that video the other day on interstellar space sleep. I'm a type of person who likes white noise. Do you like white noise, Adrian? If not, don't worry about it. But if you don't know, then you need to give it a try. What you do is you hear a sound, and the sound is this. I'm going to play a little bit of it right here. I have 8 hours of it for you. You just set it, and it's like a spaceship, like an airlock. And you do that, and it sets up the effect of a rhythm, because when your body starts following a pattern, then it gets used to it, and then all you have to do is relax the pattern. And when your mind is too active, it's no longer too active because it's a pattern, and it has to exert less calories and effort to track. Unlike when you're in productivity mode, you're jumping from pattern to pattern. So you don't have to do that, and you will sleep faster. Um, I do sleep in complete dark. I have blackout curtains, and they are completely. It's like a bear cave. There's no light at all, like a deep bear cave. I have tried melatonin, and no, you don't want melatonin. I know that people. I tried this for a while, and it started to give me headaches. Maybe you're that way. I'm not. It doesn't. Plus, you'll develop. It'll react badly to the melanin, the melatonin that's in your body. Um, but that is so. That's my recommendation. Here's another trick, and I heard this on a TED talk. You just sit down comfortably or lay down comfortably, and do this. Close your eyes in a perfectly rested position, and tap yourself just enough to get a rhythm, and then gradually slow it down. Do that 3 to 5 minutes with your ambient noise, and or with or without your white noise, and it will work. I have tried it, and it actually does work. And it may not work on the first go round, but after at least 5 minutes, 3 to 5 minutes, you'd be surprised. Your brain starts following a pattern, and a beat is a lot easier. You want to make sure it's the same beat. Um, and if you are the type of person, this gets into a spiritual area, make sure that you have done your most important tasks for the day, because it's some people, their minds become active because they're in denial about what they need to do. And I have a video coming on this about the stable datum, which is if you do the right thing that you need to do in your tasks for the day, all the rest will fall into place. If you go to bed and you haven't done that, you're going to have trouble sleeping because your subconscious plays games with you. Same thing if you're mad at someone, if you're on the outs with someone, you don't sleep as well. It's a biblical saying, let not the sun go down upon, your anger. But are you talking, Adrian, about having trouble deep sleep with fasting because of you think it's attributable to fasting, or is it in general? I know that it is not affected. I'm not one of these people that's had trouble with that, with because of fasting. And if it is, it's because your body's trying to make you go out there and hunt. But if you're spending your energy in the day, you're not going to have a problem. And you be consistent in your schedule, you're not going to have a problem. So Napa says I got into this is why uh, he's, I guess, saying he didn't see, I got into already wrecked it mindset, and by day 2, I was in a cut loose, yikes, mindset, and then I added alcohol back in and led me to insulin spikes and binging cycle. Okay, so you got out of control. Uh, I mean, there's no point except to saying, hey, you know, let's start again. I mean, what are you going to do? But you made it a month. So that should be to the point where you say, hey, let's keep going. I mean, if you can do a month, you can do 100 months. You just can. But thanks for that admission. I mean, a lot of people do that. They do that experimenting, but ultimately everything you do, every failure teaches you that you still want that lesson. You still want that, the result. Otherwise you wouldn't care, right? Ray says, I am on 20-4 for the past 3 months. I eat at 6 p.m. and 10 p.m. Is it better to have the more carb-based meal at 6 p.m. and the bigger protein meal at 10? I am gearing towards OMAD very soon. Yes, because if you do the carb first, then you'll stimulate a little bit of insulin, and then you'll get a satisfying meal. However, I have had people reverse that and have just as good a results. They ate the protein first, so they would be more full, so the carbs were kind of just gravy. But me, I tend to enjoy starting out the meal with the carbs, and then as your blood sugars rise, you feel more satisfied sooner. But it depends on you. It depends on how you process. Debbie says every other day fasting is a great thing to break a stall, to drop weight a little quicker. I use I use it just to speed things up now and then, but oh man, is much more sustainable. So yes, that's absolutely true. Um, you're gonna start taking off water weight really fast when you're doing longer fasts. So if you want to break through, and this is actually a Bulgarian method, I believe a Bulgarian method, where you fast completely on water only the first 2 days and then move into one meal a day after that. I know a Bulgarian doctor many years ago who treated my dad for something in the 80s when he was in his upper 40s. And he said he recommended that you fast the first 2 days and then you get going, kickstart your metabolism. But you don't have to do that long term. And as I've said before, you don't have to do very long fasts unless you just feel like you can handle it and you feel like you need it for some reason. The noise sounds okay. Okay, so there's a channel. Here's mine. I'll link to my video, which I'm going to do right now. But if you want to go to the others, look up the channel Relaxing White Noise. And it's here on YouTube. And you can get a waterfall. You can do different things. And you can just go there and try it and just sleep like that and see how you react to it. I love it. I have either a fan on or I have one of the other channels going. And you can do it loud, you can do it soft. Some people also use it to concentrate. And I've always heard that that's not true, that it does distract from your concentration. For instance, if you're studying for college or something, that it's a way of distracting you. But I think that it is helpful to have white noise. I know that I'm not going to stop. I either have the fan on or I have one of my videos on. Like here at the hotel, I've been sleeping at the hotel, and I do my the video, and then when I'm at home I do my favorite blue fan that I got from Wally World for like $14 or something, because it's a loud fan, and I love loud fans that are rattly too. It's kind of my thing. Hello, Geneva. AK says 1 cup of white rice is typically 200 calories, factoring in the post or an I also insulin response. Would upping the calories for white rice to 2 cups or 400 calories? You're speaking cooked. If you take 1 cup of dry rice and you cook that, I think that comes to 740 calories, if I'm not mistaken. You add in butter, it knocks it up a little bit. So let's say 800 calories. No. Of course, this depends on your sugar response. A lot of people handle rice quite well, and they don't handle potatoes very well. It depends on how your body absorbs what is in it. I know that I don't feel very good when I don't absorb potatoes quite as well as I do rice. Rice I can do just fine. I can eat anything and not have an insulin spike. It doesn't affect my insulin, but I don't feel as well with potatoes as I do with rice. So I do white rice, and I'll do just with whatever. If I'm going to do a reverence meal, I'll do only white rice with a little bit of butter and salt and pepper and white pepper. And then that's all I'll do. But I would not worry if you're not combining, as far as insulin spikes, AK, if you're not combining your high carb with high protein, then you're not going to get the same spike. And this is why a pizza has fat and has carbs and then protein, so you get a spike. And Chinese food, same deal. You go to the buffet, you pig out. What does that do? That creates an insulin spike, but if you have dominance carb, even if you eat, you know what I've done before? I've done a piece of cake and I've done a whole bunch of rice, and I ate like as much as I could. I had lower blood sugar than when I go just eat a hamburger. That's weird, right? I had my blood sugar like barely cracked 105. It was the craziest thing, and I keep finding that. If you do carb dominance, you'll have less of a spike than if you do a mix. Tell me if that's not true, but that's overwhelmingly is the reaction that I get and other people get. And again, if you're worried about that, just walk after the meal, and you burn up a lot of the sugar. I tell that to people who are borderline diabetic and don't absorb sugar as well. You go out there and you get in a habit of walking or even short sprinting, you will find a way to up your game. Melatonin makes, John Boston says, melatonin makes me tired all day. Then you want to drink coffee and eat. Yes, and that's why the melatonin you take in is not a good idea, because your body doesn't absorb it like it does your natural melatonin, which is hormonally coded for you. So that's why all of these stuff, this artificial stuff people take, it ends up being not as good, uh, not as good a deal for you usually, because it's kind of the way it is. So I got one of these ridiculous selfie sticks off of Amazon because it's so easy to hold the camera. I thought that was funny. It's actually really good. Best 19 bucks I ever spent. Fanita McNeil says, can you share how AMLA helps lowering blood sugars with the amount and frequency suggested? No, I can't. But what I can do is recommend you check out a video by Dr. Greger. Let me see if I can find it right quick. nutritionfacts.org. I'm going to send the video. I think this is the video. But Dr. Greger has a good video on this. I think this is it. So it's AMLA versus diabetes. Go check that out, and he explains how. I don't. But as for dosing and all that, I know that I have had people try it. My sister, my late sister, who struggled with type 1, she would notice a difference, a big difference when she took it versus when she didn't. So let's see. I can't find the right angle here. I don't know what to do. I'm gonna. This stick isn't working for me now. All right. So, that's what I would recommend, because Dr. Greger has actually several videos on that. It also lowers. It also lowers cholesterol, and that's one of the things that for people that do struggle. I have an engineer here who used to be here who struggled a lot, and that was one of the things I recommended. We talked about that, and he has moderate to mild blood sugar control. So, Adrian says my sleep issues don't come from fasting. So if you've always had that, it's like your brain doesn't know when to tell itself to shut off, which is a common problem. And in which case you have to have very good patterns. You may, I know one guy that used to work for me. He had such a problem. He had to take very strong medication because the part in your the lower part of your brain, it's like a disorder. You're probably not that bad though. He was one of the worst I've ever seen. In fact, this young man was like 26, and he had a drinking problem so bad because he had to drink in addition to the medication because it quit working. He's probably 31 now, and he's not gotten much better. There are rare cases like that, but if you develop the right patterns and you have a healthy life cycle and you are honest with yourself and you are spiritually balanced, you do the first works quickly. You do the things that are right and proper. You can live with yourself. You'll have less of a problem than you otherwise would. But I would recommend that. And again, I'm one of these people, I can lay down and go to sleep. So I may not be totally qualified to coach you on that. But try that and experiment with it and make sure you max that out as much as you can. Or on the other hand, you might turn around and say, hey, I don't like white noise after all. It makes it worse. You know, some people don't like white noise. Me, I love it. Siraj, hello. I am 80 pounds overweight. BMI is around 35, 3 days into OMAD, and these cravings are killing me. Yep, I know the feeling. I'm having mild headache and brain fog. I think I can't do this anymore. No, 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 no. You're right. You got one more day of that, and then it gets a touch easier. And by day 7, it'll get easier still. Listen, What are you at work? Or are you need to take this time and get right in front of it. If you are, go home, relax, take the time off if you can. If you can't, then keep going. Start walking, start running, do what you have to. I'm telling you, you're right there. When you're at that feeling where you're just going to die, that's when you know you're about to get results. You're about to pass that. Once you get to day 4 through 7, you will find that you're going to get better. But as long as your blood, you said you're diabetic. Did I read that right? Are you having blood sugar lows? Are you maintaining your blood sugar, or are you just? Some diabetics get too low. Most of them just stay too high, and they don't like the feeling of coming back down. So, for instance, you might have a blood sugar of 300 when you eat, and then when you start fasting, it's down to 130, which is still high for a normal person. And then, but to you, it feels like low blood sugar. If you can answer that for me, I can. But I feel you right now. Days 2, 3, and 4 for me were so bad that I have on this channel. I was watching fight videos. I was watching videos of World Star, like kids tearing each other up. I was doing all of this stuff to keep my mind off of food. I was crying. I had my laptop on my chest watching the most awful stuff. I was watching a video to take my mind off of food of a guy with a screwdriver stabbing the eye out of an Asian man in a park. And it was one of those like black market videos where some guy had been robbed. This poor guy had been robbed for money, and the guy was a sicko and started stabbing the guy in the skull. And it was so gross. That was the only thing that took my mind off of food. I so wanted to binge. I so wanted to splurge, but I knew if I did, I would fail. Listen, Siraj, you've got to keep going. You're at the point. Guys, cheer him on, encourage him. You're at that point where once you get past that first 7 days, remember the mission critical is 14, so you got after 7, you got another to go. Watch my video, Mission Critical, the first 14 days. You can't mess up. You've got to keep going. You can eat when it's time to eat, not before. Stick with your beverages. If you have to, get a little more caffeine. What I would recommend is that you take this time and learn to meditate. Think of controlling yourself. Think of bettering yourself. Think of how, if it were easy, everyone would do it. You're going to be one of the successful ones. You will get through this. I'm talking to you right now, Siraj. Debbie's jumping right in. Everyone goes through literal pain when starting, but you are almost there. Don't give up. Those are Debbie's words. You got me, you got Debbie, you got everybody here rooting for you because we're all struggling through this together. I know exactly how it feels. I know what it's like to get up into the kitchen and turn around and walk back and then start punching the counter because I was so angry. I was honestly watching terrible videos. I had to get up and then just walk down the street. I grabbed a Diet Dr. Pepper, chugged it down. I had to walk back to the street. And when I got back to the house, I was sweating. My ankles were hurting because I was 360 pounds. And then I walked around the block again, even though my foot was hurting, my bum foot. And I was awful. I was awful. Trust me, I know you're going to do this. You just keep going. Do not stop or you'll keep starting over and you'll never have the success that can be yours. So come on now. I'm with you here. We got you, man. We got you. Have you tried Stir Water Enhancer? No, I have not. I've just tried Mio Water Enhancer. Be right back. I've only tried Mio. I haven't tried any of the others. Mio, it tastes acidic to me. It tastes like acid on my mouth for some reason. It tastes good, but I feel like I get an insulin spike from it. And maybe it's how much I put in there. I put in like a ton, and the cherry one is my favorite. And I've done it. I don't buy them anymore. I still have some, I think, that I haven't used up. It's 0 calorie. It's I've used it. I used it during my weight loss, so it works. But to me, I'm not. I put it in a bottle of water and just shake it, and you can take a grape or cherry beverage. I have used it, and I've never. I did lose weight on it. So, yeah. Debbie says she has a fan on. A waterfall sound is one of my favorites. Uh, hey Debbie, post a link to your video. She asks, "Are you a YouTuber?" Mama Z, she is definitely a YouTuber. I recommend you go to her channel, Debbie Omad, the channel here on YouTube. We just did a podcast together, which will be up in a flash here when I approve it. I'll just go in there and set it up now, right? Michael, I think your leader, who is trying to stay awake too long, is a little bit too stubborn to listen to his advice. That's my cold read on this leader. Um, do you agree? I think you will come to agree if you contemplate if you read the tea leaves correctly. I have made my decision, sir. Michael is one of the coolest cats around, and you will hear him. You will hear from him very soon. You will hear us both together on another, or on our first broadcast that it will be on this channel. He is. He's going to be around. You're gonna hear from Michael. How are you today, my friend? I hope the family's not driving you nuts. I know you're anxious to get back to work, buddy. Mike, you just woke me up. You didn't even know it. Doopy Kogan says late to the party, but I'll pour a cup of coffee and start at the beginning. Good luck with sleep disruption. It is a bear to manage. Yes, I'm already feeling it. I'm getting that flushed feeling, but I'm okay. I'm gonna make it, but it will be. How is your blood lab results thus far, Joe? I can show them to you. I don't have them here, but my blood lab results are great, and I've actually had updated thyroid panels that show my T3, T4, my TSH levels. All is perfectly within range. The only thing that is slightly elevated, I have a slightly low white blood cell count, but that's normal for someone who's not fighting any infections. Someone who fasts and will usually have a lower white blood cell count because your body is not having to fight infections unless it's having to fight an infection of some sort. And slightly elevated systolic blood pressure, but that's a normal thing for the Holman family. All of us have some little elevation to our blood pressure. Other than that, great. A1C super low. I don't have any problems. And I thought about doing a video on that. Matter of fact, I probably will. Yeah, I'm gonna do a video on that. Yeah, definitely, guys. Check out Debbie Omad if you have not. We had Omad Dad on the other day. Another great channel to check out. If you're subscribed to this channel, you can see the updates. Mitch says, hello, Mitch. Mitch says, thoughts on more than one meal a day when doing a lot of exercise. Here's the thing. I had somebody ask the last 2 days about eating multiple meals when you're trying to do a lot of exercise or working out. You're not obligated to stay doing one meal. You can have a day where you do one meal, and then when you work out, do two or three. It depends on your goal. It depends where you are. It depends on your results. Uh, all of this is dependent on you. Here's a recommendation. If you are looking to gain weight, like I am now, looking to gain muscular weight as well and not gain fat, which is working. But it's if I have 2 days or one day of OMAD, and then the next day of grazing all day and eating a lot of protein, and then the next day of fasting, you even out. And yes, this is live. Welcome. This will you can do that if you're, and especially if you're very active. You don't want to be too low on calories because you are you're going to end up. The problem with fasting and being too low calories, or the problem with OMAD and not getting enough calories, is if indeed you aren't, you're gonna cannibalize your muscle, because low blood sugar, and if you're exercising, you're burning off the sugar that's in your liver and in your bloodstream. It's going to pull that from your muscles. So you don't want that. So you want to make sure that if you are eating one meal a day to lose weight, you stay at a deficit. If you are doing so, if you want to keep toned, or you want to put on muscle, you need to make sure you're getting enough calories, and you're not putting too low, because then you're going to start having trouble. If on the other hand you're very obese and you need to get to a healthy weight range, you need to prioritize a bigger calorie deficit and continue to drop. And you can add in exercise when it's safe to do so. And the real problem with building muscle and high activity is that you're not going to have high enough insulin to stay in muscle building range. That's why I recommend that you do 2 to 3 to 5 meals a day if you're a person who wants to gain a lot of muscle. And I tell people, you can do OMAD intermittently. You can jump to a day every other day and do OMAD, and then do. I prefer to stay with a larger meal, but I understand if people really need to gain muscle, then get your insulin levels higher so that you have anabolic function. But that's my advice on that. Don't feel like you have to always be getting, because you don't want to be getting too. And sometimes people drastically overestimate their calories, so they're eating one meal, but they don't realize their insulin is rising, and then they digest the food. Well, you're probably not getting the calories that you have, and you might have trouble with that. So don't be afraid. And if you do need a pick me up, if you do need something, it depends on your goals. What I recommend for people that need to lose weight, you need to stay strict OMAD for a while until you break in. But I would, yeah, be careful of that. But then again, most people, if you need to lose, your body will adjust to the normal fasting with calorie variance. I have found fasting, Ray says, I have found fasting great for my anxiety. I can only assume OMAD will help this further. Any supplements to help with anxiety? Is there an optimum time to eat before bed? No, I don't have any time to eat recommendation, because that will be that'll be up to you and your routine. Supplements, no, I don't have any supplements that I can say. Niacin, I have heard from a nutritionist, is very helpful, but I'm very leery of supplements, because they do harm your liver, and they're harder to absorb in your body. I would do some research on that. You should. I'm really not an expert on that, and I don't want to tell you anything that's off the cuff or off the hip and not correct. If you find the peace that you get with fasting, the endorphin release, the hunger high will definitely help with that, and will continue to help with that. Rain and thunder is great. You and I both, man. It's the best. It really is the best. It was good last night. We had a bunch of stuff here at the hotel, a few leaks here and there, but it wasn't too bad. And now it appears to have blown out. Suraj says fasting blood glucose is 100. Okay, that's not too bad. As long as you're not over 135 and you're not under 68, then you're fine. 66 maybe. You don't want to be too low, but you're sounds like you're okay there. You'll get through this if you decide you're going to keep going. So. Are you into Ramana Maharshi teachings? Um, I honestly don't know them by that name. I don't. The Bhagavad Gita and others I have read, of course, along with the Talmud and the Quran and of course the Bible, which is I'm a seminary graduate, a philosophy major, in theology and philosophy was what my degree was in. So but I'm not honestly I'm not familiar with that. Andy says to Suraj, day 23, it gets better. Yeah, that's right. Thank you for the encouragement, Andy, toward Siraj. I'm sure he appreciates that. Let's see. Elda Winey just donated $10. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. You are quite a class act. I'm very thankful to be of benefit to you. Let me know how I can help further. Debbie says the first week is hard, and anyone that says it isn't is either lying or isn't really doing it. That's correct. You get these people who say it's easy. No, you haven't hit it yet. It hasn't hit you yet. When it's hit you, you're going to know because it's going to tax your body, and your body's going to protest, and it's going to be like a little child screaming in the mall. You got to take it out and spank it. My last video dealt with dealing with stuff like that. It's dealing with the inner child, because that's what you do. You get this child that just protests. I want this, I want that. You can't give them everything they want. You're going to create a spoiled brat. You can do it, Daniel says. Don't quit. Hang in there. Everybody's coming through. Tracy Davis says, I'm almost 14 days in come Friday. If I can do it, you can do it too. That's what people figure out. People realize you don't have to be a superhero. You just have to batten down and do it. Steve Harris says, welcome, Steve. Lemon juice water is good to drink also. Yes, it is. That's a great fasting beverage. You just squirt a little lemon, go to a restaurant, squirt a little lemon. That was one of the first things I would do when my uncles were mocking me. My uncles and cousins were saying, you're not going to stay the course with your weight loss. You're going to give up. And we'd go out to a Mexican restaurant, and they'd order food they knew would tempt me. And I would get a lemon water in a big, tall to-go cup. And I would get a coffee in a small to-go cup, and then a Diet Coke. And throughout the course of our meal, I would sip on each one. And when we were done, I would take the water with me. Sometimes water, sometimes coffee. Usually I would put the coffee down first, and then I would have 3 beverages and just sip along. Layla says, I almost dislike this as a protocol because of how distinct it makes my eating from everyone else, but it is the only thing that puts my overeating in remission. Way to go. Well, that's an honest response. You don't have to like it. It's just, but what you do is you do have to stay in control. And it doesn't matter how, and it doesn't matter why. I wish more people were like you, Layla, because they need to stop mourning. They need to stop mourning the absurdity of, oh, well, why does it have to be me? Why do I not have a faster metabolism? Why do I have to do this? Why can't I have alcohol? Well, if you can't handle it, then you've got to do that. And if you're prone to binging or general overeating, you need a system in check. Some people do 2 meals, some people do different, but 1 meal is the best approach for long-term success, and it is the most manageable. You acknowledge that. So you're ahead of the crowd, and a lot of people don't. I wish people would quit mourning or mourn and get it over with, and then say, hey, okay, here's what I have to do. If you're a person who can't handle alcohol, if you're a person who can't eat peanuts, what are you going to do? You have to do what you have to do to survive. There's no point in complaining about it. There's no point in arguing about it. You accept it and you move on. The same thing with any tragedy in life. People go through all sorts of tragedies. What are you going to do? You're gonna do what you got to do. I stopped so many times, Tracy says. This time it's working, and I'm so happy. Keep going. It's worth it. So I think she's addressing to Siraj. Yes, 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 yes. And a lot of times you get better at it. It's no different than any. Your body gets more used to what you're doing, and then when you break it, it's like muscles when you can't, where you get injured and you can't work out for a while. When you can start working out again after a lengthy period of time, even if it's more than a year, your muscle memory kicks in and your body starts doing it. So you just bam, 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 bam. You keep knocking it out, and you keep going. Layla says, did you ever have to control your attitude with family during a fast? I'm a beginner and I am getting a bit cranky. No, I'll tell you why. Um, the correct answer, I suppose, would be yes, but I didn't experience that because I was so dang set on succeeding. I didn't care if anyone believed me or not, or tried to tempt me. I knew they would. I knew they would mess with me because I was always the guy that they would come over to my house. But even when I was married, I had so much grease everywhere because I would fry all the time. On the cabinets was a residue because I would fry French fries and sausage and shrimp and of course everything from eggs and bacon, and then I would make cakes, and I had all this food everywhere. I didn't care. They knew. It's like an alcoholic saying, "Oh, I can quit this time. I'll really quit." I knew they weren't going to believe me, so I didn't care about their attitude. The way people came around me and said, I didn't really care. I just dismissed them. I said, I understand why you feel that way. You feel like I'm going to cave. I'm not going to cave, but you can feel how you want to feel. So I kind of, I didn't let it bother me. Crankiness, like with blood sugar fluctuations, is normal. And people handle it differently. Your body, when it starts burning fat more consistently, you get better at that. It's not a problem. When you're starting, yeah, you get cranky and hangry, and you start acting weird sometimes. It's just your brain, when it gets an uneven level of glucose, then it's not quite right. Um, Daniel says, love your channel. Thank you, Daniel. I'm down 82 kilogram from 101 here. I got to look that up again because you guys keep putting it. Okay, so you 222 pounds. You started at 222 pounds. 222 to 180. That's a good job, man. That is really good. So, but yeah, you guys in the UK, you use these references. It's like all of this. Thank you, Mitch. Daniel says, OMAD for life. Most people are finding that's the best way to go in a society with too much food. In a perfect world, we wouldn't have to care, but we do in this world. Lindy Wee Mano says, hi, Joe. I started OMAD 30 days ago. I lost 8 kilograms. Is that okay? Here we go. Gonna do it again. 8 kilograms. Absolutely. That's 17.6 pounds. That's a good loss. My first month was about nearly 26 pounds, and I was a big guy. Most people, yeah, 15 to 25 pounds is a really good loss, man. Am I losing healthy? Um, yeah, here's the average. And I've said this on other live streams and in other videos. The consensus is pretty clear. If you're losing more than 2.2 pounds per week, you start to get into muscle loss at an inordinate rate. So you don't want to lose more than 2.2 pounds per week after you've lost your water weight, which most losses are water weight losses for a while. So if you can remember that going forward, I think you're fine. I think you should be way within normal range. And most women lose about 1.5 pounds a week. Most men, about 2 pounds, a pound for women and 1.5 pounds for men, going up to 2 pounds. But most people are not going to lose 2.5 or more pounds. I averaged 2.4 to 3.6 pounds. So I was a little faster loss than normal. Some guys will be. But mine was pushing it on the upper limit. So I don't, yeah, you'll probably have more normal results. But you're losing very well. I would not worry at all. How long do you call strict OMAD? It depends on how much you end up wanting to lose. If you want to, I would, most people in 8 to 10 months, like that's a good long-term loss. Most people will not have to go OMAD for an entire year or two to lose because most people are not morbidly obese. Hobo traveler fasts 2 days and eats on the third day. I think he's been doing OMAD before it was popular to save money, Hobo stuff. Well, yeah, it makes sense. A lot of people, you can do it. A lot of people can do it. Greetings from Germany. Decree says, hello, welcome. You inspire me, Joe, thank you. Mono says, thank you. I'm happy to help. Gerald says, hey Joe, have you heard of, and what are your, have you heard of, are your thoughts, on Dr. Berg and his products such as keto amino pills? I'm not a fan of Berg. And Berg is really not a doctor, number one. He's a chiropractor. And it's chiropractors and doctors. I know that it's a kind of doctor, but he's his specialty of manipulating the body does not cover nutrition, even though he is recognized as one of the leading keto experts. Basically, all he says is you should eat eggs and ham and low, and then he sells a bunch of stuff like all of these people. To answer your question, no, I wouldn't touch any of the stuff that he sells. He's looking out for him. His advice is sometimes correct. I think he's right on, but he's a fad just like anybody else in a lot of respects because he promotes things. He didn't used to be into fasting. He used to be, if you go back and follow his earlier stuff, he used to just say to eat twice a day and eat eggs and bacon and ham. But now he's gotten on to one meal a day. Just like all of these guys, like these Joel Furman, he used to promote all kinds of crazy fad supplements like green coffee bean extract and all of this stuff. They're out looking out for them. Not that what they say is necessarily all wrong, and I'm not vilifying him, but I'm not a fan. I don't find, even though he's right when he explains the body and metabolism in a lot of ways, but he's wrong on a number of other things. So I feel, but I don't. I'm not a fan of these commercial people who are, if he's a chiropractor and he's successful, what's he doing on YouTube peddling a bunch of supplements? That's always my reaction to these sorts of people. Does he have a practice? Well, how much time is he dedicating to that? It's just, to me, it's like a lawyer who jumps on YouTube to be a YouTube lawyer. Well, do you have a practice? Or it's like, why are you not doing that? So, not that somebody on YouTube cannot be successful or have a part-time gig, but to me, it strikes me as odd that would be their chosen profession. Foodie Fatty says, I've done OMAD before, but I'm starting over. This is my second day and I'm already feeling it. Yeah, you're going to feel it. You're going to feel real tough. Eldo Wanye says, I can't stick to one plate rule. I had to shorten my window to 30 minutes, but I still eat a lot. I am on OMAD for 4 months, 7 days a week. Lost 35 pounds, 70 to go, very slow. I think I should do 48 hours. No, I think you're doing. I think you should stay the course. The one plate rule is a guide. You don't have to stick to that. It's a guide to keep people who eat too much too quick on the right path. You can use a bowl. You can use a saucer next to that. But the idea is no seconds, no going back for fill-ups, no going. Keep in control. Thank you so much. 8 months is okay, Joe. Yeah, you won't. You as long as you're able to lead a consistent life and you're not getting signs that anything is wrong, you're fine. Most people won't need to go for a very long time. I mean, if a person is 600 pounds, you should probably contact me because if you're 700 or 800 pounds, we got to get with a doctor. Like it's going to be a big deal. Most people aren't in that shape, so your body will be fine. You could go a year on OMAD. I mean, you just got to be smart about it. Don't expect too drastic of results too fast, in a sense that and I have coached people who are 400 plus pounds, who are really had a lot of problems, a lot of insulin resistance, a lot of diabetic complications, but they didn't have any complications. We wanted to be careful. I had them go to a doctor and get me a blood panel, which they showed me. We looked at some variables in their glucose absorption and different things, and they came around. John Doe says, congratulations on your weight loss. I need to do this. Hey, nothing's stopping you. You guys are helping, man. Thank you guys so much. I'm feeling really good. I'm getting ready for my walk after this. Thoughts on Glucerna? For the right person, someone who's having blood sugar issues, then they're a good way to go. There are those who do OMAD who just use beverages like Slim Fast or Glucerna or others, and they're successful. As long as they get their blood sugar back up to baseline, they're okay. Some people do not maintain level blood sugar, so they can't without help. That's okay. They'll still lose weight. Been watching your videos for a long time and love them. You don't play around with intros, outros, or music, all substance and no filler. Thanks for realizing that. I've had people, I hate that sort of crap. I do. I hate that. That adds no value. Seeing a picture of a squirrely line and then da-da-da-da have some music. And to me, in fact, this is a fault. Mike can tell you, I can be very impatient, and Mike again, Mike can tell you some hilarious story because he's seen me day to day. I don't like intros, I don't like outros, because to me, I feel like I'm being manipulated. I'm a mad communicator, and a mad communicator is very impatient. A high mad is impatient. I'm a high mad, high results, high economic oriented thinker. And on the Sisler graph that I offer in my consulting, I go to the end of the two graphs and I go deep. I hate that because I feel like I'm being manipulated. So when people come up and they're extra nice, my mind is automatically thinking, hey, what does he or she really want? It's a cut to the chase thing. I feel like I'm being manipulated. I don't want to give that to anybody else. So I don't want to joke around. I don't want to mess around. Other people aren't like that. And you know what? That's okay. It's totally okay to not be that way. Like to have people that want to, who is it? Fledge Fitness, I've been in touch with, back in a couple of years ago when his channel was new and low subscribers. He's a very salesy, outgoing, engaging type of guy who he plays the game. He's that type of guy. He's a really good guy. I don't know him that well, but Um, that's it's kind of the way, well, but they're different personalities, and there's lots of flamboyance and theatrical style, and that's fine. But it's not my style, and that, to me, it would never work. So. Mike says, curious to know what to do if the size, frequency, and color of defecation while on OMAD. I'm starting to get worried. Yeah, okay. Um, yeah, I wouldn't worry in that department. Wouldn't worry. Wouldn't worry very much. I think whatever defecation routine you get will come right along. Metformin, you just got on a soapbox. Y'all are really hitting it today, man. Y'all are helping, not only helping me, you're getting on my soapboxes. Let me tell you this. Metformin has been around for years. That's one of the worst drugs on the market. It's one of the worst drugs for your body. It's one of the worst drugs. It will shred your intestines at long term. The reason I know, my ex, who was pre-diabetic and struggled with her weight after we were married a while, she took that under the promise that it would help control blood sugar and lose weight. It does not work, and it caused her to have the blackest, runniest shits that you could ever imagine, and it did not go away after months. And she would have to, we would be out in public, and she would have these, I'm sorry to share too much, but I don't approve of it. I don't like it. And I've seen that if you go on the internet forums with metformin, you'll find that there are a few ladies, we're talking about hormonally, like PCOS camp, the polycystic ovarian syndrome. So they have uneven male hormone in their body. That's the only ones who show any promise with it. So I don't recommend it at all. But it depends. Some people are prescribed that. I think it's a terrible idea. That's my take on it. And I've known other people who I've coached who've had the same reactions. I've only had one person or two people swear by it in all the years I've known it. And that, I've known about it since 1996 or 7. So when it was new. So. What's your take on fried protein sources, fried chicken versus steamed chicken for weight loss results? Does it matter? Excellent question. You're knocking it out, AK. All of y'all are. Great questions. No, I'm a big believer in fried food. I eat fried chicken. I don't believe that it's not going to matter for the protein. If it's an animal protein, you will absorb it more readily than plant protein. And you will, in terms of weight loss, anytime the fat you eat is the fat you wear. That's kind of a true statement but the problem is it's not as sustainable. If you go around eating baked chicken or steamed chicken and you don't really like it, you're going to feel like you're in dieter's prison. And I talked about this even recently. Dieter's prison is where you start modifying your diet to eat, quote, healthy. I don't recommend it. If you want Popeyes, if you want Church's chicken, go out and get it. I did the other day, loved it. In fact, I did several days. As long as you're controlling yourself, which on OMAD you of course have to be, it's not going to matter. And here's what the fats do, and you don't hear this enough unless you have a doctor, and usually keto doctors say this and they're right about it. Your gallbladder processes fat. So when you get healthy amounts of gallbladder activity, you tend to lose weight faster because your bile is regulated. So when you get fat, whether it's olive oil or chicken grease or whatever, your gallbladder does this. That's why you have a lot of vegetarians and vegans that don't get oil at all. They go a few months and then they get gallstones. And if you don't believe that, go on some of these plant-based support forums and you're going to see a lot of dang people on there, men and women, who get gallstones. They go a month and they start having gallbladder pains, freaking major. And the reason is because they don't have that action of the gallbladder doing this, that's squeezing out, so there's no buildup in there. Because otherwise, you don't have a long gallbladder like a rabbit does. So a rabbit has a very long appendix, and gallbladder, and the appendix in a rabbit is active. So when you eat a bunch of bark and plant food, you can't do it. The rabbit can, or not a rabbit, or any animal that chews strict greens. That's why in humans it's so very short, and yet in animals it's so very long. But that's, no, don't be afraid of oils. Just don't, if you want to, if you don't like them, or you want to give yourself a little bit of advantage in weight loss, you can remove them, but don't completely remove them. Please don't, because you're going to end up, you know, some people have, if you have gallstones, or if you have a propensity for gallstones, it might be a problem. Um, if you do something like a juice fast, same thing. You're getting no fat, so your gallbladder is going to stop squeezing, and therefore you're going to have a buildup. Which is why a lot of people have a whole lot of trouble when they remove fat. You need some fat. That's why I do believe that's one of the views I've changed over the years. I do think that's true. You do need some fat, at least a little. How do you feel about Jason Fung, the obesity code? Thank you. No, Jason Fung is great. I took issue with him a while back, but my main issue was um, teaming up with people like, who was it, Tommy Moore? I don't remember. I did a video, or Jimmy Moore. I think it was Tommy Moore. God dang it. Living La Vida Low Carb. Who is this guy? Um, no, I don't remember. I think it was Tommy Moore. I don't want to look it up now. And I'm not big on, he was a guy who wasn't even in his healthy weight range, and he wasn't, he didn't, the guy, the whole thing, he was with a guy who was teaching people to drink butter, put butter in their coffee. That I'm not on board with. So that was my issue with Fung for a while, and he would say dumb things like, and I do take issue with this, that calories are a myth. That's completely false. It's absolutely demonstrably not true by anyone. Oh, and he said this. He said, as long as your insulin is low, you can't gain fat. That's bullshit. That's not true. It's not the case that your that if you just keep your insulin low, it's possible to have low insulin and still gain weight, which is why people in the low carb movement have trouble if they don't do fasting. You're going to end up with you're getting too many calories. I've tried it. I've tried it in 1998. I did the longest months long Atkins. I felt so bad. Let me tell you, my friends, it was terrible. And I didn't lose weight because I was getting too many calories. And I keep seeing this. People keep coming to me because they've been told that calories are a myth. That's stupid. So that makes me mad. But other than that, he's a great guy, and he's right about a lot of what he says. I agree with 99, 95%, 98% of, most of what he says. But you can't believe everybody. Maybe I'm wrong about some. I'm sure I'm wrong about some things too. So, pound for pound, he's a great. You can learn a lot. He's. Any advice on late night cravings? Don says. Hi, Don. Late night cravings. Well, what hours do you work? Are you up at nights, or usually your cravings come when you're in your swing, when the day is well established. If you're up late, I definitely know late night cravings. Me and my ex, when I was married, we would go out and we would put go to get Denny's and get biscuits and gravy, or any place we could find, and we would eat so much that we would come home and we were just keeled over. We couldn't even have sex. We were so tired because our blood sugar just I don't care if you guys know this. We were so tired because we would go out and we would eat, and it was the things that I can tell you on that is, the only thing I can tell you with the late night craving, if you succumb to them, that's the perfect time to fast, because when you go to sleep, all of that's going to build right up in your liver, and you're going to easily go through your first day of fasting, if not two. I have had where I binged so bad at night. I'm trying to think of the worst day to tell you. Okay, so I started out that morning, and I worked late, and I was frustrated. I went and I got like 4 or 5 burritos, and then later that day I had a bag of M&Ms, like the big bag, 3,000 calories. And later in the day I had a pizza, and then before bed I had a burger. I had like 3 hamburgers, and 3 French fries and a large malt. So I had all of this food plus snacks, plus I had a bag of nacho rings, Tom's nacho rings. Uh, and I did all of that in one day. And I think I went to bed. I had a Dr. Pepper just before bed. And I honestly was so tired, I just fell right over. It was like my little legs were, I was 350, 58, 360 pounds. I just came right into bed. And my lungs, I was wheezing so bad because I had all this phlegm. I had all this, like you start drinking a lot of dairy, eating a carton of ice cream. And that was another habit I had. I would go out late night and do ice cream. I would get a whole thing of Bluebell Dutch chocolate. I would put it down. And I'd be peeing cloudy for 2 days. So I could say, though, the only advantage of that is that it thrusts you into, if you succumb to them, but you shouldn't succumb to them. My advice would be have a schedule and start eating earlier in the day so that you develop a pattern that is healthier. I know they're tough, but you're going to feel so much better if you resist it. Debbie, what's that, Debbie? I put an intro on my videos by request by many of my followers, but then again, I am not a mad communicator. Oh, no, yes. Debbie's a perfect example. Debbie's a high glad. She's a glad mad, but she's a primary glad. So she says, which means she is a relationship oriented person first and a direct communicator still, but her dominance is secondary to her relationship inclination. So Debbie is the type of person who will connect with someone really fast. It's her nature to be agreeable. Myself, I'm a mad first, so I'm a direct first, and I tend to be disagreeable, which is why I connect well with some people and not with others. I tend to I can make enemies as well. I'm pretty, as you can tell, outspoken. I'm no nonsense. I'm very direct. Debbie can be no nonsense. She can be direct, but she's first and foremost a glad communicator. So she is a good connector, a good influencer, a good people person, which anybody who knows her can tell. She reached out to me and we went over. We spent hours she took my elite course and we went over all of her strengths and weaknesses. And she will be the first to tell you to describe in detail what we talked about. But that's and there's nothing wrong with having that. So as far as a person having a different approach, you should do what lends to your strength, which she has very much done. Foodie Fatty Keto says, yeah, metformin is terrible and so many people take it. Yes, it's one of the most popular diabetic drugs on the market and PCOS drugs, and it's tearing up. It's really terrible. Be right back. All right. What about those who have had their gallbladder removed? Debbie asks, I get this question often, do you think that impacts weight loss at all? I don't think it impacts weight loss, but it does impact their ability to process fat. So you definitely can't approach fat the same way, and it will make meal size. It's a little bit harder to handle. So if there ends up being inevitably fat in a meal, they have a problem. So that's what I would say. I would say then that's the time to consider, if you've had your gallbladder removed, to consider going back on the fat, and that is where a more plant-based routine would make tons more sense. Yeah, I don't think that it directly will cause weight loss in my experience. I've had people that they said when they had their gallbladder removed, it wasn't the same. So that's kind of how they were. That's kind of how they saw it. John Boston says, I have been adding MCT oil to my vegetables instead of olive oils. Also, I like to take Swedish bitters. Love all of your videos and being dead honest and the high mad comment. Yeah, I mean, I don't think there any oil. It's all going to be the same. Oil is oil. It makes and Caldwell Esselstyn, Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn is right on this, and the vegans are right on this. It does constrict your arteries, and the same is true of plant fats. People think, well, it's good oil. No, it's oil, so you need to limit it. But if you can definitely have it, and you'll be okay. Herbivores, yes. Thank you, Mike. Yeah, that's what I was talking about in terms of absorbing. Being able to eat plant-based. And a lot of these people don't realize your ability to eat broccoli and kale and all of this, you really don't have a good ability to it. Humans are omnivores. They're also meat eaters. They're also starch eaters. So we don't absorb. That's why a lot of people I have a video coming on how a lot of people have tons of trouble, which is why junk food can be healthy. But that's another subject for another time. I say junk food, not junk food, normal food. I've never had a better crap since being on OMAD. Same time every day. You know what? Some people have constipation, but then it eventually evens out, and uh, you end up getting in a situation where you do come along, and then eventually you come back to regularity. And some people quicker than others. Me, I've always adjusted pretty quick after about a week. Changing what's coming in hopefully changes what's coming out. You bet. There's no other way to slice it. Malsab, hello, welcome. When we first start OMAD, is it okay to eat anything as long as it is once in a day in a precise hour? Yes, a small amount of French fries, you're totally good. Anything, you can eat anything you want. I don't recommend eating total junk food for very long because you're not going to feel very good. But if you want to do it that way, you go ahead and try it. Go out and get a burger and fry. It was my first meal on OMAD, and my anniversary's coming up. I'm going to do a video on it. I had a half a Whataburger and a half of a small fry, and an apple juice with 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar. That was my first ever meal on OMAD, June 1st, 2013. I'm gonna do something to make y'all a part of it, if you want to be. I tried carnivore and felt horrible. I needed the vegetables. You're exactly right. You need starch, you need vegetables, you need normal stuff. I do not recommend any of the carnivore approaches. I think it's horribly misguided. Plus, you're going to have cholesterol like a grizzly. Don't recommend it. That's just me. You can do what you want. JD says, I did a 21 days water fasting, and before doing it, I was pretty healthy after, and before. I am afterwards. I am very sick. My leg first started hurting, sciatica. Now it is purplish. Okay, you're saying you were water fasting, and before doing OMAD, you were pretty healthy, or doing the fasting, you were pretty healthy. Afterwards, you're very sick. Am I understanding you correctly? So you did a water fast and you were sick, or are you saying I'm not, your leg started hurting? I don't think that your sciatica would have anything to do with how you eat, good or bad. And by the way, water fasting is not really going to heal you. It will allow your body to make some repairs and do autophagy, but but it's not going to do any miracle. Don't listen to these Lauren Lockman types. They're not. Fasting helps. It will optimize you, but it's not going to heal things like that. It's not going to reset a broken arm or reset your joints or remove all your scar tissue. It's not going to do that. And I get tired of people saying that. Jane says, thank you for answering my query regarding Jason Fung. Much appreciated. Mirrors my thoughts. Hey, you know what? I don't go around taking issues with people. But what he's saying, he's very popular and very well respected and very influential. He shouldn't be saying crap like that. That's why I called it. I did a video and I lost subscribers over it. I got a lot of hate for that video. I'm sure you've already seen it, or you might have seen it. Go back and look at my video on butter coffee. It's absurd. People shouldn't be doing that. That's just absolutely ridiculous. That's different than putting oil on a salad. know what I'm saying? It's different than, you know, having some fried chicken sometimes. It's way different. Joni, Joni Rogerson lost inches but hardly any pounds, which is fine by me, but why? Thanks. Well, how long did you do it? If you're losing inches, you're going to lose pounds. There's no other way it could be. We'll go another 10 minutes. We're at 110 minutes, 17 seconds. We'll call it 2 hours. So no real foods are bad. Even Wendy, there are no bad foods. So not really bad. I'll say this: a bad food is something you can't make a meal out of. But even that's not really true, because if you can enjoy it and if you can moderate it and add it party to your meal, in while maintaining control, it's a good food. It may not be a good food to make a meal out of. You wouldn't want to have it too often. You don't want to have Reese's Buttercups for your meal, but you can have one or two with your meal or more with your meal, and you'd be just fine. So don't get into the habit of thinking that, you know, what, watermelon? No, watermelon's a very good thing. I juice watermelon and carrots, and not together, but yuck. But no, healthy, there are no miracle foods and there are no demon foods. There are no Jesus foods versus Satan foods. There's nothing like that. The food, if you're in control, you will do just fine. Please remember that. If you can maintain control, you'll be good. I have been a vegan and not the healthiest type for over 20 years. Right now, I'm having problems eating too much high quantities. I feel as emotional eating. What will you recommend, please? Well, first of all, you know, you've been a vegan, so that tells me you're not anymore, and then you had problems from that. Well, then it's time for a change. If you're having too much eating quantities, just start eating one meal a day. Make sure you eat within a second time. Yeah, you can take control. If you control yourself, you'll be just fine. You won't need to worry, even if you do eat, if you still eat plant-based. Yeah, stay in control. I would recommend, first of all, getting a diet you can sustain if you are having problems with health. All right. You want to lose 20 pounds? That shouldn't be hard. Just get on a pattern that you can stick with. You're 41 years old? Oh, see, if you're 41 and you're looking to get pregnant, have you had kids before? Would this be the first? I don't know. Usually after 38, the risk of complications is very high. I'm not telling you can't, but you need to make sure you're working with your lady doctor on the best ideal eating. You need to have you need to make sure you're ready in life and able to you know, you look into that. And again, I'm not the expert there. I'm not qualified to coach you on that, but I can tell you that if you are looking to get pregnant, you should not be fasting if you suspect you may be pregnant, because you need to make sure that your offspring gets the calories. I can't stress that enough. You can lose weight now, but again, if you're looking to get pregnant, I don't see that as compatible. I think you should get some professional advice on that from your lady doctor, because that's at your age, it will if I'm understanding your scenario there. I'm reading over your other comments. But yeah, I don't want to tell you wrong. I know that pregnancy and fasting, you can eat once a day and do and you know, have a child, but you have to make sure your calories are right there. And it still may be better, depending on gestational diabetes or anything like that, or blood sugar irregular. It may be good to eat regular during that time. Just going to be on the safe side there. Hey, Meatball, how's it going? Good to see you. Blessings towards you and your loved ones. Thank you, JD. Foodie Fatty Keto, I can listen to you all day. Nah, you'd get tired of me. No rush at all, Joe. Stay on another 2 hours, please. Well, I got a couple things to do because I scheduled them, but we'll stay on just a little bit here. So, Mike, you saying you want me to stay on, especially when I'm tired? I'm not going to sleep. I'm gonna keep going. Not till the time. Verge Mart. If you have insulin resistant, what kind of carbs could you eat? Doesn't matter. If you go to fasting and you're regular about it and you don't have inflammatory carbs, you'll be fine. Inflammatory carbs are ones you can't digest, and any diabetes doctor will tell you your body determines how receptive you are to carbs. Some people can do potatoes, some can't. Some people can do rice, some can't. Some people can do honey. So, honey generally lowers, even though it's very sweet, it lowers blood sugar. Some people can't do it though. So what I would do if I were you is don't worry about it. Eat foods that you know don't aggravate you and that you enjoy, and do your OMAD. I would do your apple cider vinegar. If you've seen my videos on 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar per day, you can do juice or water. Some people can't do juice. Don't do juice if it bothers you. You'll quickly reverse your insulin resistance. And I've seen horribly insulin resistant people who really, they were taking all sorts of medication, and it wasn't even really working. And they beat their insulin resistance in a few weeks. And that's how you know your diabetes is reversible, or insulin resistance is reversible, because if it's not hereditary, well, insulin resistance is always reversible. If your diabetes is hereditary or genetic, then it's something that won't improve with fasting, because it'll improve, but it wouldn't stay improved. Most people with normal diabetes and insulin resistance, they'll reverse that with fasting very quickly, as long as they're consistent. If you can be consistent, that's the key. That's where you win. That is how you succeed. Layla asks opinions on broth during a fast, like chicken broth and bone broth and all of this. Nada. You don't go there. I don't know. Here, let's see. So there are 31 calories in the average cup of beef or chicken bone broth. I guess you could have a small enough amount and you would not get an insulin rise, and thus would not have a fast disturb, but I wouldn't count on that. You're not going to do, because of your body's tendency to preserve homeostasis, you're not going to drink something or eat something that's going to cause you to regenerate collagen. And that's why this quackery started on the internet. Because you had these people that say if you drink collagen, then your body's collagen is going to restore. So if you drink a bunch of bone broth, you're going to get, it doesn't work that way. Otherwise, people who drink turmeric or eat turmeric foods all of a sudden have their joints rebuilt or improve. I've tried all of that, and it doesn't make a difference. It doesn't, your body's going to regulate. If you take in beyond like an aphrodisiac, like cinnamon is an aphrodisiac, different foods, beets are an aphrodisiac because they thin the blood, and that has an immediate effect, and therefore can have a cumulative effect if you use it regularly. But your body's not going to let something come in that's going to rebuild you. You're not going to eat something that's going to build your muscles unless you get protein and you work out, and your body has to adapt to the stress of having the muscles broken down. So the same thing with your collagen and the rest of your body. Genetically, some of you are predisposed, like I am. You'll have your collagen breakdown on a normal way. If you just go drink a bunch of collagen or something with collagen like bone broth, you're not going to get, it's not going to do that. So unless you just enjoy bone broth, you're fine. I wouldn't do it during the fast. So, well, I guess we can bring this to a close now. You folks have been delightful. You've given me a heads up on the day, and I'm going to make some good work, and I'm going to check out of the hotel here. I'm going to do a few different things. Okay, what happened? Okay, there we go. We're still on. Okay, what happened? See what happens when I click the little gear thing at the top? It takes me off the page and makes everything reset. All right, folks, let's see. Let me see what else we have before we finish. All right, Debbie, you have a great one, and I will talk to you later today. Food Dude Zomat, hey Joe, trying to find the sustainable approach. I think you're right about the long-term game being the most important. How do you suggest letting go of cows and do one plate? I say you just, how do you suggest letting go of calories, or did you mean carbs? Or you don't have to do one plate, but if it works for you, then do it. Anything that's going to manage, your optimization. Calories, letting go of calories. You can, your body will function on what you give it if you train it to, but it'll be a matter of discipline. Layla, thank you. Working from home. Maria, hello again. Thank you so much. Fatty Keto, thank you. Meatball, you guys are terrific. Thank you so much, and have a divine day.